Middlesex showed a lot of character to fight back strongly on the penultimate day of their LV County Championship match at the Emirates Durham International Cricket Ground, but they still have work to do if they're going to avoid a defeat on the last day in the North East. They began day 3 in a whole heap of trouble on 69 for 4 in reply to Durham's massive 568. John Simpson had joined Joe Denley with a score on 45 for 4, and both would have been pleased that 34 overs had been lost at the end of the previous day. It was imperative that they started this day well. Early wickets would have been a disaster for them. Simpson did indeed begin in an encouraging fashion with some gorgeous shots. Denley too was impressive. In the batsman's favour was that this pitch was still a good one to bat on, but when faced with such a daunting task, the mind can play tricks. Middlesex knew that their first target was to try to get to 419 to avoid the follow-on and effectively save this match. Denley, who began the day on 11, reached his 50 after seeing out the opening 80 minutes or so. Finding his feet in the last couple of weeks, the former Kent player reached his second half century of the summer of 82 balls. He got there with a pulled 4 off Mark Wood, who was hit for 2 more in the same over, which took Denley's boundary count to 9. These two had come into bat in the space of 3 overs and had done really well to put on 114 runs for the 5th wicket in 26 overs, but then Simpson on 44 was surprised by a full bunger from Ben Stokes. The batsman didn't pick up the ball at all. He left with his side on 159 for 5, and that became 175 for 6, when Denley was also out with an edge off John Hastings to Michael Richardson in the slips. Denley had to depart for 59. So Middlesex were again up against it, and had Paul Stirling been taken in the slips off Chris Rushworth on 17, then they might have been following on sooner rather than later. Stirling scored only 1 run in his only other championship game for Middlesex, but the man who is normally only employed at the top of the order in the one-day game had been given his chance, and he now looked to make the most of it. The match situation wasn't right to play shots, but the Irishman still took on the short stuff when he could. Durham thought they'd spotted a weakness and were convinced that they had Stirling out on the hook. The umpire said the ball had hit the arm and not the hand, and so Stirling survived. At the other end stood Toby Roland-Jones, a man who's having an incredible time at the moment. In his last match, he beat his personal best with the ball twice in the same game, while he also struck the highest score of his career. He added another fifer in this game and was now batting well again, as another very handy partnership was developed. Stirling was growing in confidence and playing some splendid shots on his way to his maiden championship 50. It arrived off his 96th ball with a couple off Paul Collingwood. He'd found the boundary 8 times in a very important knock, not just for his team, but also to prove that he has got what it takes at this level. He would have been delighted to have got this far, and with his partnership with Roland-Jones, which was taken to 89. Alas for Stirling, he was out just before the second new ball was due, an inside edge off Scott Borthwick being very well held at short leg by Keaton Jennings. Roland-Jones remained to take on the new ball, and as he pulled Hastings through mid-wicket for his 8th 4, he moved into the 50s for the second time this summer. He'd struck only 1 half-century before this season. This one had occupied 80 deliveries and showed that Roland-Jones is moving into all-rounder territory. He soon went to his 4th personal best in the last couple of weeks by passing the 60 he made last time out against Northamptonshire, while new man Tim Murtagh decided to go for the stand and deliver approach. He struck some mighty blows to frustrate Durham some more. They would have been hopeful of enforcing the follow-on fairly early on in this day. They were now being made to wait until the day's final session. Just before the tea break, Roland-Jones' fine innings was ended on 63 when he deflected a ball from Wood back onto his stumps to end a sprightly partnership of 56 with Murtagh, which had been made in only 9 overs. Into the final session, and the innings was wrapped up quickly. Wood ripped out Stephen Finn's off stump for his 4th wicket of the innings, while Borthwick had Murtagh stumped after making a very entertaining 42 off just 30 deliveries. Middlesex were all out for 330. From 45 for 4, they would have been delighted with that, but not when Chris Rogers failed for the second time in 2 days. Rushworth got him LBW for a single. Middlesex had followed on 238 runs behind their opponents, And they now look to David Milan and Sam Robson to show the kind of fight produced by Sterling and Roland-Jones. They'd been faced with surviving 27 overs when they were inserted again, and these two saw out the majority of those. Milan played the more expansive shots, while Robson, due a big score, bedded in, playing very calmly as the situation required. You'll see from the reaction of the fielders here and the shake of the head from Milan that the catch that dismissed him shortly before the close was a spectacular one by Jennings. Milan had to go for 33. Robson and the night watchman, Ravi Patel, did well to ensure that both would be there for the last morning of this game. Middlesex will begin it on 90 for 2, which leaves them 148 runs behind their hosts. Robson is still there on 42. If they can repeat this day, then they'll get away with a draw, although Durham will be confident still of picking up their first win of the season in this competition.